In Nintendo Power Issue 39 and the official Super Game Boy Player's Guide, Whispy Woods from Kirby's Dream Land was originally given the alternate name of Larkspur Lyre. Nintendo was originally founded in 1889 as a manufacturer of Hanafuda cards, but you probably knew that already. One of their earliest and most well-known Hanafuda card brands was the Daitorio card deck, which translates to President, and is recognizable by the portrait of Napoleon Bonaparte on the box, modeled after a painting by the French painter Paul Delaroche. Interestingly though, Napoleon was only ever an emperor and not a president, so there has been some speculation as to why he was used as the face of the president cards. Some sources claim that Fusajiro Yamauchi, the founder of Nintendo, mistook Napoleon for George Washington. Others claim that he wrongly assumed that Napoleon was the president of France, and some others say that the cards were called presidents simply to denote their high quality. After the Daitorio cards, Napoleon's image continued to appear on Nintendo's other playing cards and still does to this day. You probably know that on the 3DS home menu, most of the top screen animations can be spun faster by blowing into the microphone. All of the 3DS's built-in software have icons that can do so, except health and safety information. Unless you own a Japanese 3DS, in which case you can spin that warning symbol to your heart's content. This is a Japanese copy of Super Mario 64 DS, though you might notice it has an interesting holographic label on the cover art itself. This is a label for Nintendo Phuten, the first Taiwanese Nintendo subsidiary, first founded in January 1991 as a collaboration between Nintendo and Taiwanese distributor Hakuyu. The relationship between these two companies technically goes even further back, all the way to the days of the Game & Watch and Famicom, but it's a bit of a long story. Nintendo Phuten oversaw system launches from the GBA all the way to the 3DS, but disagreements between Nintendo and Hakuyu on business operations led to Nintendo abandoning Hakuyu for a different Taiwanese distributor, and eventually shutting down Nintendo Phuten on May 31st, 2014. Hakuyu actually sued Nintendo over the debacle in 2011, claiming Nintendo had violated business morals and quote, kicked them to the side, but ended up losing in court. After Nintendo Phuten was shut down, Nintendo of Hong Kong briefly took over operations in Taiwan, until a new subsidiary, Nintendo of Taiwan, was finally established on February 10, 2025. The Famicom Mini line was the Japanese equivalent to the classic NES series of re-releases for the Game Boy Advance. Compared to the US, Japan also got re-releases of a few Famicom Disk System games that came in yellow cartridges. And if you hold down the A button while booting one of these cartridges, you'll even get to see the Famicom Disk System startup screen. Super Mario Bros. For the NES was later re-released as part of a combo cartridge that also includes Duck Hunt. It's one of the most common NES games around. But are there any differences between the standalone release of Super Mario Bros. And the one that's in the combo cart? Well, for more than 99% of it, not really. But there is one single difference in the character ROM data. This tile in standalone Super Mario Bros. Was changed to a registered trademark symbol in SMB1 plus Duck Hunt. The reason? So the game logo can be displayed with one in the newly added game selection screen. So you're probably wondering, was this original tile used in anything? Well, it is. Editing it live while running the standalone version of Mario 1 in an emulator reveals that the tile was part of the A in the game's logo. And in the combo cart, editing the new trademark symbol that's in the same location causes the game selection screen to change accordingly. But the A in the game's logo still remains intact. So what was their solution? They reused a duplicate tile that was used for this tall tree sprite in the game's logo. Honestly, just props to them for that one. When it comes to system exploits and homebrew, the DSi doesn't get mentioned as much compared to the Wii and 3DS. But there have been multiple exploits discovered for the DSi over the years. The main one that's used today to access homebrew or custom firmware is called Memory Pit, which takes advantage of a flaw in how the DSi camera app processes image metadata. And there are alternatives that utilize the DSi browser or Flipnote Studio. My favorite one though, even though it doesn't have any practical use, requires a modified save file for the DSi exclusive physical game, System Flaw. Yes, System Flaw enables a system flaw. It's poetry in motion. On the original big box PC and Mac release of Mario's Game Gallery, an early screenshot can be found on the back of the box that reveals one of the earlier names considered for the game was An Evening with Mario. When people discuss the period of Nintendo history in between their playing card and video game businesses, when they started various experimental ventures, they often mention the same three things Nintendo used to operate: a taxi service, an instant rice business, and infamously, love hotels. But did Nintendo actually ever run love hotels? That's a question that Japanese Famicom historian Orochi attempted to answer in this blog post. Long story short, Nintendo went public in 1962, before love hotels were even a mainstream concept in Japan. But there are no securities reports from Nintendo from that year onwards that mention any love hotel businesses. By comparison, you can still find evidence of Nintendo's taxi and instant rice ventures, from records of their business relationships with other relevant companies to actual photographic evidence and testimonials. The claims that Nintendo ran love hotels in the past appear to have originated from the 1993 book Game Over by David Sheff, which, while being a pioneer in laying out Nintendo history so early on and paving the foundation for future research, has been found to have had a few unsourced claims, inaccuracies, or misinterpretations in the decades since. Orochi even read through more than 15 Japanese books about Nintendo published around the same time as Game Over, and none of them mention love hotels in any capacity. The conclusion? Nintendo's love hotel business is very likely just an urban legend, and at best is simply a rumor originally heard by David Sheff during the 90s, which then spread until today. And finally, the red virus from Dr. Mario was originally depicted to have a spiky tail. Starting from Dr. Mario Online RX for the Wii, however, his tail was removed for some reason, and he continues to be depicted as such in future appearances. Nintendo, I am a strong proponent of giving the red virus his tail back.